Oh yeah, Malaysia 가지수로 돌로지 로는 수보 도도 무슨 말.
Good morning, Dashidali, to Your Holiness,
Dashidali.
Professor Dashidali, Professor Emeritus
Datuk
Datuk Osman Bakar. Dashidali is a hello in Tibetan.
Yes.
I am K.C. Liu, President of Tibetan Buddhist Culture Center, Malaysia. So it's my privilege and honor to cooperate with this forum with Muslim Youth Movement of Malaysia, in short, ABIM. Our topic today is compassion and mercy as a common value between Islam and Buddhism. On behalf of the organizer, we would like to welcome our two eminent speakers, honorable guests, venerable Sangha members, fellow participants, and online viewer who are joining us today. So I'm now invite the moderator, Saudara Faiza, who is our co-organizer, as well as president of Muslim Youth Movement Malaysia, to start the forum. Saudara Faiza, please, thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera and selamat pagi, Prof. Osman and Your Holiness. A very good morning, a warm welcome to our honorable speakers, distinguished guests, and everyone that has joined in this online forum. I am Muhammad Faisal Abdul Aziz, President of Muslim Youth Movement Malaysia, ABIM. Today, we are honored to have His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, Tenzin Gyatso, and Professor Emeritus Datuk Osman Bakar to share their wisdom in this forum. His Holiness is one of the greatest Buddhist religious leaders in the world, an advocate of interfaith dialogues. He has received numerous awards, including the most notable recognition, the Nobel Peace Prize in 1989, and the Congressional Gold Medal, the highest civilian award of USA in 2007. His Holiness' contributions and legacy to the world consists of what he calls as universal ethics and 4 commitments of his life. His 4 commitments are promoting the basic human values such as compassion and dialogue, promoting religious harmony among the different religious faiths, preserving Tibetan culture and environment, and last but not least, reviving Indian ancient wisdom. Professor Osman, on the other hand, is the Al-Ghazali Chair of Epistemology and Civilizational Studies at International Institute of Islamic Thought and Civilization, or ISTAC. This year, Professor was ranked as one of the 500 most influential Muslims in the publication The Muslim 500. Ladies and gentlemen, the flow of this forum will begin with the dialogue between Professor Osman and His Holiness, after which we will continue with the question and answer session and a closing message by Brother Casey. Our topic for today's discussion is compassion and mercy as the common values between Islam and Buddhism. Professor Osman, now we would like you to lead the discussion, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me greet all of you with the Muslim greeting, Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. Selamat pagi and a very good morning, in particular to His Holiness the Dalai Lama, to all dignitaries, all attendees, and your co-organizers of this forum. Thank you very much for inviting me. It is indeed an honor and a privilege for me to be on the panel, to have a conversation with His Holiness the Dalai Lama on a very, very important topic. Inter-religious dialogue is very important for our contemporary world. And this morning, we are fortunate to have this dialogue about a very, very important subject on compassion and mercy between Islam and Buddhism. It is important for Malaysia, where Islam and Buddhism are the two biggest religions. The same thing, it is very important for Southeast Asia, for ASEAN, because again, Islam and Buddhism are the two biggest religions. Now, in my view, the main purpose of having interreligious dialogue is to identify both our commonalities and differences. But in the case of commonalities, we would like to see that these commonalities be strengthened and even broadened. And as far as differences are concerned, we would like to minimize them. And to the extent that those differences cannot be further reduced, we would like to nurture a culture of respect among us. I think that is basically the key to interreligious dialogue. Now, this morning, talking about the subject of compassion and mercy. In fact,
compassion and mercy.
In fact, there's only one point that I would like to emphasize in this introductory remarks of mine. What I would like to emphasize here is that mercy is the essence of Islam. And in fact, I would add that mercy is the essence of every religion. It is for us to discover that it is so. Although mercy has one reality, it is known by different names in different religions. It is expressed and understood in different ways. And it is also emphasized differently in the different religions. In fact, even within the same religion, sometimes it is emphasized differently in other aspects of life or reality, whether you are referring to mercy at the human level or at the divine level. Now, in Islam, mercy is known by the term rahmah. The semantic field of the Arabic rahmah covers compassion, grace, love, mercy, kindness, pity, and sympathy. In meaning, therefore, rahmah is almost similar to the Buddhist karuna and to the Christian agape, or love. This means that if Buddhists are looking for the Islamic equivalent of karuna, and Christians looking for the equivalent of agape or love, then that equivalent would be rahmah. Let me present to you 5 main arguments why mercy is viewed as central to Islam. The first reason, mercy is the most important attribute of God, or the most important divine attribute. But the divine attribute has 2 sides, thus giving rise to different names. Namely, Ar-Rahman, usually translated as the most gracious, and Ar-Rahim, translated as the most compassionate or the most merciful. The name Ar-Rahman refers to God, and using the word God, and while the word God does not exist in Buddhism, but that's for our discussion. But here I'm using at least the language, the terminology of the Abrahamic religions. So Ar-Rahman refers to God's abounding grace and infinite mercy, or the infinite good. abounding grace and infinite good, the rahmah that overflows to become the whole of creation or the universe. God speaks in the Quran, my mercy extends to all things, and he scatters his mercy far and wide. This is what the Quran says. Now, therefore, Ar-Rahman refers to what may be called God's infinite creative mercy. As for Rahim, Ar-Rahim, the name Ar-Rahim refers to God's infinite compassion and love for humanity for the sake of salvation, for the sake of their salvation. Ar-Rahim thus refers to what may be called God's saving mercy, salvific mercy. And that is the reason number one. Reason number two, the Prophet Muhammad is the personification of divine mercy. The Quran says, we have not sent you, O Muhammad, but as a mercy for all creatures. Mercy to the world is one of the titles of the Prophet. What the divine expectation of Muhammad as a prophet is to be compassionate, merciful, and kind to all, not only to his followers. And he did live up to that expectation. His life is characterized by compassion, especially for the orphans, of which he was one, the poor, the weak, and the oppressed. And since he is the role model for Muslims, what this means is that Muslims are also expected to be guided by the spirit of compassion, mercy, and kindness in their lives. The third reason, the Quran claims that it is a manifestation of divine mercy. So the Quran is an expression of divine mercy. The Quran says it is taught by the most gracious. It is guidance for humanity. And the Quran says when the Quran is read, listen to it with attention and hold your peace that you may receive mercy, rahmah. And further, the Quran says, we send down the Quran, that which is a healing and a mercy to those who believe. The fourth reason is about the law, the divine law, which is Sharia, a word which invited a lot of negative responses. But in reality, the Sharia, the divine law of Islam, is essentially a guidance and mercy to everyone. But this message could only be appreciated if one also accepts the idea that God, the lawgiver, is also God, the most compassionate and most merciful. Mercy is indeed the spirit and the real substance of the Sharia. The word Sharia in the Quran may best be translated as the right way of religion, meaning the way that will lead to salvation. Contrary to the erroneous view held by many people today, the spirit of the Sharia is guidance and mercy and not compulsion and punishment. For Islam, rightly understood and practiced, the Sharia is the path to the realization of the virtues of compassion, mercy, and kindness. And the fifth and the last reason why mercy is central to Islam. Mercy is an essential attribute of human being. In the same way that mercy is an essential attribute of God. The teaching that mercy is both a divine and a human quality has deep significance for our whole life. Islam, like Judaism and Christianity, teaches that man by nature, human being by nature, has been endowed with God-like qualities. In its details, the idea of human as the image of God has been understood differently. But what I would like to emphasize here is that certainly from the Islamic perspective, the God-like resemblance in human qualities is total and integral, in which mercy features as the most fundamental element. The seed of divine mercy is implanted in human nature. That's why we are able to be compassionate and merciful. Religion, the role of religion, is to provide the spiritual means, the practices, the social actions on how the seeds of mercy and compassion within our nature can be nurtured and cultivated so that we become a human being that is indeed compassionate and merciful. And education understood in the broadest sense play a central role in the nurturing and cultivation of the inborn seed of compassion and mercy, just like the other seeds of the godlike activities. But what is central here is compassion and mercy. Thank you very much for that brief introductory remarks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Professor, for the enlightenment. Your Holiness, we now would like to hear from you on compassion and mercy from Buddhist perspective. Thank you.
Firstly, indeed, I feel great honor meeting with a Malaysian Muslim, and including leader. Since my childhood in my small village, there are already some Muslim families. So, very sort of close sort of relations. Then, after I reached Lhasa, according to Tibetan government tradition, every occasion the government function, the Muslim representative from the local Muslim group always participate. Then, according some sort of, what's the history sort of saying, during 5th Dalai Lama, some Muslim from Ladakh reached Lhasa. Then 5th Dalai Lama provided land for their construction of their mosque. So, since my childhood, you see, the Muslim representative of Lhasa, very familiar. And sometimes I, in a way, joke, but in a way, truth. The 13th Dalai Lama's as the reincarnation will find an Amdo area. So, Tibetan government delegation visit my area, in Kumbum area, and try to investigate. So at that time, 3 boys. One, when the search party reached there, already passed away. Then only 2 boys. My mother told me the other boy carrying with his mother, by mother, you see, met warlord. Then that boy, very much afraid. And then some sweet give. And then like that. take, you see, more sort of sweet. And then next, my visit, the warlord Matushi, we call Matushi. So when my mother carried me enter that room, I very much sort of, full of dignity, no afraid. Then sweet come. I just take one sweet and give my mother, and one keep myself. Then warlord Matushi, he expressed, now this boy is Dalai Lama. And he, I don't know, he noticed, you see, my eye, something good. So he expressed, this boy must be Dalai Lama's reincarnation. So therefore, from that viewpoint, the person who recognized me as a Dalai Lama's reincarnation, the first person is Muslim, the local warlord. So then, you see, since then, you see, he take special care about my family. Go like that. So I told some my Ladakhi Muslim, you see, the first also official or person, high official in the society, sort of some important person, who recognized me, the first one, that Muslim. So that's some special connection. Then, as I mentioned earlier, when we reached Lhasa, small community, Muslim community, see, the Tibetan monk, mainly is a Podala monk, so they fond visit Mongolian shopkeeper. Many monks in Lhasa, in Podala, so they are the source of information about India. These Muslim shopkeepers. So a monk often used to visit their shop, and then they get about the story, Mahatma Gandhiji's stories, these things. And plus, you see, very good, delicious Muslim food. So, some Namgyal monastery monk, especially old monk, very fond, visit Mongolian shop, and firstly get information, secondly good food. So that's
Muslim shops.
Also the story. So since my childhood, it's quite familiar. So now this time, you see, meeting with a Muslim group, and particularly the head of the Malaysian Muslim. So now one of my commitment is promotion of religious harmony. Reason, quite simple. As you already mentioned, human compassion, sense of concern of others' well-being is part of human nature. as some scientists say, basic human nature, we are social animal. So individual human beings' life entirely depend on the community. So therefore, from first hour when we born, we received maximum affection from our mother with mother's milk. So that is the way our life starts as a social animal. Sometimes I jokingly express some story, some great Indian master who born from lotus. Sometimes I jokingly telling such person may have closer feeling with lotus rather than human being. But we born from our mother and we grown up mother's milk. Actually, almost I think living being on this planet, for their survival, entirely depend on sense of caring. Look, millions of birds, animals, including we human beings, all, you see, their survival very much depend on the community, the sense of caring. So, now, today, our world, everybody want happy life. And everybody have right to be happy life, to have happy life. Yet, meantime, a lot of problem which we humanity facing on this planet, our own creation. Much problem which we face, actually, our human beings' creation. So, now that's now today's reality. A lot of problem, our own creation. The only remedy is we must go deeper level. We are a human being, we are a social animal. From birth, our main, also the factor to survive is human compassion. So therefore, the human love, kindness, loving kindness is the key factor for our survival. Therefore, all religion of human being on this planet carry the message of loving kindness. All religion, you see, emphasis, loving kindness, compassion. It is quite simple. Then in order to also increase belief about importance of loving kindness, then different sort of philosophy, different concept created. Mainly, theistic religion all believe God, Creator, Allah. The very nature of Allah, of God, Jesus Christ, all this very nature is full of loving kindness. Now in India, over 3,000 years, is a concept of ahimsa and karuna. So, over 3,000 years, people, now I think that's oldest here, Karuna, Ahimsa, already developed the concept, importance of these Ahimsa and Karuna. So all major world religious tradition, you see, carry the message of Karuna and Ahimsa. And also, you see, in India, over 3,000 years, already developed how to train our mind. So the concept of a single-pointed mind, that's we call shamatha, and analytical meditation, that we call vipassana. So these, over 3,000 years in this country, already developed how to tackle our emotion, how to develop the strengthening our positive emotion. So positive emotion, constructive emotion, not just come through prayer only, but training our mind, very important. So now this country, before Buddha come, Buddhism developed, India already developed the how to train our mind, how to utilize our intelligence properly, and a lot of sort of information about our emotion. And then is how to develop the constructive emotion to grow in order to reduce destructive emotion. So these, I think India, I think earliest, then after that Buddha come. Buddha also very much emphasis about compassion. Then the Sangha philosophy, very much emphasis about non-violence, about compassion. Then gradually, I think in the Middle East, the Muhammad come. You see, main message is compassion. Outwardly, he carry one sword. But main motivation is serving human being, helping human being. Under that, at that circumstances, is without sort of weapon, difficult to spread. So that's understandable. And then Jesus Christ. So all these, and Zoroastrian, all these major religious tradition all carry message of love. So now, today, world need compassion in order to create better, happier world. Now, unfortunately, at past few centuries, we not much pay attention about these inner value, rather than, you see, develop different weapons, or how to kill, how to destroy the other one. So, recent centuries, we pay more attention about our anger, fear, not much pay attention about how to develop peace of mind. So the last few centuries, that tradition still remain, so that's sort of also the traces of that tradition. Now we are 21st century. Marbe?
No.
21st century. now we should pay more attention how to develop inner peace through practice of compassion. Whether believer or non-believer, as a human being, in order to reduce destructive emotion, we need practice of compassion. So now, even you see in India, there is sort of, a concept of secular, not necessarily believe religion, but a secular way. So therefore, now I always emphasize, now through education, modern education, very much, you see, based external material thing. Not much talk about our inner value. Nowadays, gradually, including scientists, some now begin to feel we need more education about inner good quality, compassion. So now I usually call the hygiene of physical important, but more important is hygiene of emotion. So now, when we think about hygiene of emotion, then compassion is the key factor to bring peaceful emotion. All these negative destruction, these are carried by anger. So the antidote of anger is compassion. That's all our religious main message. And for that, utilize different philosophy, different concept. But the real sort of message is same, compassion. So now today, religious harmony is very, very important. There are now cases, very reason of different religion and killing each other. Now in the Muslim world, Shia and Sunni, like Saudi Arabia and Turkey. So mainly Shia and Sunni differences. You see some conflict. So therefore, now it is very, very, very sad. Religion, actually, the only message, only tradition which carry message of love, that itself now utilized for division and killing. So now, under such circumstances, we religious believer, people who follow different religion, we must make also the constant effort to develop religious harmony. So now, and Muslim, I feel they within the same sort of basically it's the same sort of tradition, but you see small differences, Shia and Sunni killing each other. Very sad. We religious believer, we all have a responsibility, particularly Muslim brothers and sisters have special responsibility, you see, to eliminate the conflict in the name of Shia and Sunni. In India, I never heard problem between Shia and Sunni. So India's also the traditional, or say, habit, Shia and Sunni together, no problem. So this must now show to neighboring Muslim countries. There's broadly unity, harmony among all religions, and then particularly among Muslim, Shia and Sunni. That's my feeling. I'm a Buddhist monk, but I totally committed regarding also harmony among different religious traditions. India is an example. The religious harmony is possible because, look, India, all major world religious traditions live together in this country. So it is possible, religious harmony. So with that belief, I totally committed also the promotion of religious harmony.
I couldn't agree more with you, Your Highness, Your Holiness. I couldn't agree more with what you said, that, for example, for Muslims, the question of intra-religious dialogue within the same religion. There should be conversation between the Sunnis and the Shiites. So understanding is not only between religions, but within the same religion. And no matter what the key is, we should have compassion and mercy. That is the key to peace in this, both inner peace and external peace. Thank you very much for advising, for your advice. I think we share, I certainly share with you what you have said regarding what the humanity needs today more than ever.
Right, right.
Thank you. So perhaps I think there are many questions among people today, among Muslims and Buddhists, in terms of dialogue between the two, in terms of differences. People look at differences rather than similarities. And based on your experience, I mean, how can these commonalities be strengthened or broadened so that we can see progress between Muslims and Buddhists, that actually there are more commonalities than what we think. Sometimes because of our own ignorance, there are similarities, but we see differences. I think this is certainly for Muslims and Buddhists in Malaysia, we would like to see a new culture of this dialogue and mutual understanding. And this will be a very, very good beginning for us here in Malaysia.
Very good, very good. Here, I adopted one method. I think about 90,
75.
Right.
75. No,
75. Right. 2000. Right.
1975.
Oh, 75.
No.
75. I started one practice. Wherever you see the opportunity to pilgrimage all major religious tradition, I pilgrimage to each temple of different religion. This start Sanat. Firstly, I think one Christian, small temple. I pay my respect. Then Muslim, Muslim. Then some Hindu, and then some Buddhist. So one day, pay pilgrimage, pay my respect, all these different religious traditions. So then it is quite funny. One occasion, you say, this is my practice everywhere. So one, I think, Dharamsala, I practiced that. Then the last sort of pilgrimage to one mandir.
Gurdwara in
Sikh. Gurdwara. That it become the last one. And then Gurdwara, they usually give you prasad.
blessings.
So there, when I reached there, I think the last sort of stop. So they already feel hungry. So that prasad special taste. Beside the blessing, but actually, you see, I think this much prasad very good for my stomach. So that's one my sort of practice I started. And then also, you see, good to visit Jerusalem. There are Muslim, because of the historical Muslim temple, and one small Christian temple, and then the Jewish temple. So I start, you see, pay my respect each temple, like that. So that I practice. So we, individual religion, something different, but we must sort of respect and show the public all major world tradition, helping us. Humanity need these different, religious tradition.
Apart from the, excuse me, Your Holiness, apart from what you have said regarding the needs to spread compassion and mercy, as far as education is concerned, what do you see for the 21st century? How can we improve further? We agree, I think most people agree, we need more compassion, more mercy, but the question is how? What is the mechanism? What's the best way, apart from doing our giant social works and so on, more dialogues, but what else that could be done for this?
As I already, I think, mentioned, hygiene of physical, we take every care. Then hygiene of emotion, very important, in order to develop peace of mind. Peace of mind is the best way of rest. The mind, too much fear, too much anger, you cannot sort of rest properly. Even sleep, difficult. So therefore, the best way to rest our mind is firstly we should know the destroyer of peace of mind, what kind of emotion. Then we have to the emphasis the positive emotion, which antidote of destructive emotion. So whether believe religion or not, everyone wants peace of mind in order to achieve happy life and happy years, happy month, happy weeks, happy day. So each day, more compassionate thinking here, automatically your mind become more peace. So we are not talking about next life or some other sort of religious belief. Simply in order to achieve peaceful day, full of rest, like that. So that's I usually try to also make clear the best way to keep peace of mind is firstly we should know the destroyer of peace of mind, then try to find the antidote of
God bless.
sorry, thank you. So then you see, in order to peace of mind, just tranquilizer is the temporary, more compassionate mind really bring peace of mind. So not also touching with religion, simply in order to get healthy body, healthy mind. That
theoretically, every religion is supposed to have its own way of how inner peace can be obtained, can be achieved. Prayer certainly one of the means, but of course, again, the question in practice, people do not achieve what they are seeking, namely inner peace through prayer. There's something wrong with that. But the point is that I think what is going on, certainly I can say that within Islam, there are many people who do the rituals, the spiritual practices, just paying attention only on the outward dimension, but not the inner dimension. And therefore, they did not achieve, they did not attain inner peace through prayer. But this is something that, of course, each religion has to solve. Certainly within Islam, Muslims should know that the religion does provide the means. And prayer, of course, it should not just the outward movement of doing prayer, but the inner dimension of prayer should be understood. And then the question how to have discipline of mind. We know, you know very well that, for example, within Islam itself, Sufism plays a very important role. The Sufi path in helping human beings, individuals achieve this inner peace. And of course, inner peace is always accompanied by compassion and mercy. And the question of, for example, the purification of the soul. This is very important. That people ask, how can we achieve compassion and mercy? Well, the religion does provide the means. We should go for purification of the heart and the mind, if I say that.
Now here, according to theistic religion, Muslim, Christian, and many other religions who believe God, Creator, then the very nature of God is full of compassion. That God, as our Father, entire human being, at least on this planet, all are created by God, same Father. So actually, we all 7 billion human beings on this planet, we all children of same Father. So that Father, full of compassion. So we are children of that kind of Father. So we must, firstly, there is no point to kill same God's children. We have to live together, happily, compassionately, thinking about one God. Muslim, Islam, because Muslim and Hindus, many Hindus, Jain something different, Buddhism was something different. So one my close friend, Bishop Tutu, since many years we become very, very close friends. We always sort of teasing each other. So, one occasion, Bishop Tutu expressed to me, teasing me, he ready go to heaven. Dalai Lama go to something different. That means hell. So, you see, all religious, all theistic religion say we all created by one God, so one Father. So thinking that way, we have to live happily, harmoniously, because we all creation of one Father. That also very powerful, what's the thinking, powerful reason. So, utilize, firstly, religious main sort of concept is loving kindness. And then reason, philosophical reasons, since we all created by one God, God infinite love. Therefore, we all children of same Father, we must live harmoniously, happily. Yes?
Well, I think I agree with you. I mean, totally agree with what you have said. Now, perhaps through interactions, through communication between Buddhists and Muslims in particular here, but of course, we are also talking about with members of the other religions. What we should be looking for now is for commonalities. What is it that unite us? What is it that bring us together? And certainly compassion and mercy would be the most important common issue. If every one of us shows compassion towards the other, then our world will be a very much better place. But there are obstacles that we have to face. The way that, for example, the question of extremism and so on, basically misinterpretation of the religious teachings, misinterpretation. And we are today living in a more interactive world. Our neighbors are people of other different faiths. The people who work together in the offices and so on. So the way that we need to look at the other, how we look at the other, the religious other, that is very, very important for us now. We just cannot escape from that. We cannot run away from having to live together in peace. I think that is our challenge today.
Here, you see, important is we take the essence of all religion. Then same as I mentioned earlier, loving kindness. And then for that purpose, utilize different philosophical thinking. So, like medicine, there's so many variety of medicine, but all, you see, bring healthy body. Similarly, you see, peace of mind, that is the main sort of object. All religion carry that same object. They utilize different philosophy. As I mentioned earlier, you see, the Bishop Tutu teaching me like that. So therefore, we human beings, I think even among the Muslim, Shia and Sunni and Sufism, similarly Buddhism, the Pali tradition, Sanskrit tradition, within Sanskrit tradition, there are number of different philosophical views, all, you see, meant for increase the positive emotion. So it is, I think, useful to widen our eye, look, not just one. That, I think, they create problem. Just now, for example, religion, just one religion. You should open. And we live on this same planet. There are already many religious traditions, over 1,000 years. So why these happen? Because of different human mental disposition. So therefore, as I mentioned earlier, so like medicine, same purpose, variety of medicine is very useful, very good. So firstly, we should realize all religions carry the same message. And then for that, you see the different philosophy, different way of approach mentioned. When we look these things, then we develop more appreciation. There are so many variety of, including religion, different philosophy. So therefore, firstly, we should recognize loving kindness is something very important for living being, and particularly human being, and especially these days, conflict among human beings, lack of sense of brotherhood, sisterhood. So therefore, you see, firstly we must recognize all religion, same message. Then we should sort of recognize variety of human being, variety of human brain. So different tradition, different philosophy is necessary, useful.
Sorry to interrupt, Johannes, there's now a question time. The number of people want to ask questions to you.
Okay. Yes. Some question. Okay.
First question.
Thank you, Your Holiness and Professor. Through the discussion and interaction, I could see the points for the common ground of compassion and mercy in both Islam and Buddhism. We shall now open the forum to question and answer. We would like to invite His Holiness to give your response first, after which Professor Osman will then give his words of wisdom.
Correct.
Our first question comes from the National Palace of Malaysia, Datuk Paduka Azwan Effendi Zaira. Please proceed with the question, Datuk.
Yes.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good day. Tashi Dalek to Your Holy Highness, Your Holiness the Dalai Lama, Emeritus Professor Dr. Osman Bakar. Firstly, it is an honor for me to be given the opportunity to pose the first question. In every religion, there are always some who misinterpreted the religion differently, or the so-called extremists. And these extremists often give bad image to the religion. And some even use religion as a pretext to violence or killing. So my question is it worth for us to reconcile or negotiate with these extremists, or a more harsh approach should be taken? Thank you very much.
As I mentioned already, problem between Shia and Sunni. In this country, I never heard some other country uses there's a killing between Shia and Sunni. So these now we have various sort of technology, and also visit different places So make known each other. That is important. So for example, Indian Muslim, Shia and Sunni, from their childhood, they already know. Whereas in Arab, some country, from their childhood, just only one religion and some kind of, distance feeling. So now we must utilize the new sort of technology, and if sufficient money, then visit different religious country and learn. So that my own experience, when I was in Tibet, we taught only Buddhism. After I reached India, meeting with many different religious traditions, then I developed mutual respect. All religion, different philosophy, but all carry same message and very effective. So different philosophy within Buddhism, as I briefly mentioned, is a different philosophy. During Buddha's own time, there are,
Now, 18.
For different groups. And then eventually Nalendra developed, and 4 different schools of thought. Each one have different philosophy, different views. So all, pray to Buddha, all carry same message of love. So it is important now, closer relations. As I mentioned earlier, visit pilgrimage to different religious place. That, as according to my own experience, very useful. We should not remain isolated. We should develop more contact with other religious traditions. Like that. Okay.
I think for Muslims within Islam itself, the Muslims need to differentiate between misinterpretation and having a number of different interpretations. It's two different things. If it is really misinterpretation, then the people who are in the know on religion, they should try to explain what is the correct understanding. But on the other hand, we also have a situation where religion can be interpreted in different ways. In other words, a plurality of interpretation. So Muslims should learn the art, the adab of having different opinions. I think that is important. We need to respect the others' opinions. And as far as extremism is concerned, we again need to distinguish between extremism that leads to violence. Not every form of extremism in terms of ideas will lead to violence. But if it leads to violence, then of course, I mean the state should do that, should try to settle the issue. But the point is, we should avoid harsh action. We should avoid from taking harsh action. Education, guidance, that's a better way than the punishment. Thank you. The next question.
Thank you, Your Holiness and Professor. We can see that both distinguished speakers have stated some common values on this question. Thank you. Moving on to Ms. Jayanti Kwan from Sheikh Kia Eng Temple, Malacca. She will pose the second question. Ms. Jayanti.
Hi, thank you. Good afternoon, Your Holiness, and also Prof. Osman. My question is, how do we apply the values of compassion and mercy to our day-to-day living activities and then teach them to our children? Thank you.
main thing is not as a religion, but as a social animal. Children, as I already mentioned, as soon as born, the mother's compassion, mother's affection is the key factor. So I always was telling children, 6-7-year-old children, they don't care what differences, what nationality, what color, what religion. Play together. Once we join school, not talking about inner value, and then as a part of education, they introduce differences, different nationality, different color, different religion, and then our existing modern education, unfortunately, not talking much about our inner value. So then children at a young age, very alive, are loving kindness and same oneness of we human being play together. Once we join education, then these not much emphasis, not much mention. Rather, you see the differences. So they're thinking different religion, different nationality. So now I have strong feeling in our education system should include a part of academic subject, not a religious subject. And then that also is for the hygiene of physical, hygiene of emotion, for health reason, not religious faith, like that. I think we can, in education field, we should introduce about also the method how to develop peace of mind and a healthy body, and for that, how to develop the sort of also the method to reduce anger, fear, to increase loving kindness in these fields. Then different religious tradition, you see, occasionally take also their advice, their lesson, like that. So now today, 21st century, I think we already have a lot of sort of contact, a lot of sort of communication. Unlike the ancient time, we isolate. As I mentioned earlier, Indian Muslim, Shia and Sunni, from their childhood already, you see, know each other. Whereas in Afghanistan or some Muslim area, you see, completely isolate. So, you see, the problem happen like that. So education, very, very important. And communication, okay.
Okay. This is my response to Ms. Jayanti. Generally speaking, I would say that, of course, religion and tradition provide the guidelines. And I will give you an example here I'll give an example from the Quran with respect to kindness to parents. I say charity begins at home. Now let me quote this, just quote this from the Quran. It says, your Lord has decreed that you worship none but him, and that you be kind to parents, whether one or both of them attain old age in your life. Say not to them words of contempt, nor repel them, but address them in terms of honor. And out of kindness, lower to them the wing of humility, and say, my Lord, bestow on them your mercy, rahmah, even as they cherished one, or rather, even as they cherished me in childhood. So as an example of being kind to parents, humility to parents, and all these are certainly sources of compassion and mercy once we develop these attitudes and kinds. Thank you. Yes, the next question.
Okay.
Thank you, Professor and Your Holiness. Now, moving on to our next question from our respected questioner, Mr. Taufik Abdul Khalid. Mr. Taufik, your question, please.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum and salutations to Your Holiness and Professor Osman. My question is regarding the human ego. How does the teaching of Buddhism and Islam address the rise of our own ego in ourselves when we are trying to be good servants? We want to do good, we want to be compassionate, but at the same time in ourselves, there is that pride growing. How do we address that from both religions? Thank you.
Ego.
Correct. I think firstly, I think we should make distinction, attachment and loving kindness. Attachment, you see, there is tendency of we and they. Now, like quantum physicists, you see, they say the destructive emotion very much based on appearances. Then there actually appearances and the reality, big differences. Now, quantum physicists, they say, that is similar. Some of the Buddhist sort of way of approach also is the same. So all these constructive, destructive emotion very much based on appearances. So now compassion, not based on appearances, but deeper level. See, the appearances, this is my enemy, this is my friend. So attachment, anger. But deeper level, all are same sentient being or same human being. And then you see develop genuine sense of concern of their well-being. Now here, many reasons we have to live together. Now the ancient time, you see east, west, north, south, isolated. Now today, whole world become very close each other. So we have to live side by side. Therefore, according to that reality, we must develop a sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. The too much differences, my nation, I'm Asian, I'm Tibetan, you like Middle East, and you, Malaysia, from Asia, like that. But you see, too much sort of differences. Now that way of thinking, now outdated. Now we have to think humanity, world. So, as I already mentioned, you see more contact with other people, people from different continent, different religion, different history, then different culture. You see more contact, then get the feeling of the sameness, oneness. Because of small differences, we isolate ourselves. Then you see too narrow-minded thinking, we and they. So all these things, personal contact and education, very important. Okay, next.
Mike, as far as Islam is concerned, the approach is through the Sharia. In other words, Muslims must practice the Sharia. And just give the 5 pillars of Islam. Taking, for example, prayer. Prayer is a means of weakening the ego. How to weaken the ego, how to deflate the ego, how to, in a sense, to control it. Religion provides through prayer, because through prayer, provided that we don't just concentrate on the externalities, but also on the spirit. On the spirit, the inner dimension of the prayer. What is the purpose of prayer? Then through that prayer, we should be able to weaken our ego. And we are taking a part of our time for the sake of God. And number 2 is through fasting. Fasting is a way of weakening the ego. And again, the question of, are we fulfilling the spirit of fasting or not, or just simply the fasting of the stomach? What about the fasting of the heart, the fasting of the mind, in the sense that abstaining from things that we should not do? And number 3, the zakat, which is the almsgiving. For example, the tax. Certainly, that also will help, because to let part of our personal property, to depart from our personal property, that is going to help us in weakening this ego, this what I call this ballooning of the ego. So Sharia is a means to control the ego. But let me say now one more thing. But on top of the performing the Sharia, we have to go to the techniques of the purification of the nerves, of the soul, of the heart, which people like the Sufis, for example, in the past, practicing the spiritual path, remembrance of the divine name. To remember the divine name, to remember God, is a way of controlling our ego. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next one.
Thank you, Your Holiness and Professor. Now we go to the last 2 questions. We now invite Mr. Arif, a researcher from International Institute of Islamic Thought and Civilization, ISTAC. He will pose the next question. Mr. Arif, please.
All right, Assalamualaikum and a very good morning, good afternoon to Your Holiness, as well as Professor Osman and everyone present here today. Okay, I think some of the questions that the question that I would like to ask has been answered, but if I can actually rephrase it, inshallah. What is the method or methods that Muslims and Buddhists can learn from each other to overcome the different challenges when propagating each belief system, so that we can achieve greater cohesion and clarity? Because I think the issue at hand is we talk about communication and we talk about education, but what can be done at the grassroots level for both Muslims and Buddhists the world over? Definitely love to hear from you, Your Holiness. Thank you so much.
그래서 어디 가지도 남번이 와.
Question?
As I already mentioned, when we find differences, then we should think the main goal, then the all major tradition is the same goal: promotion of human compassion, human loving kindness. Then for that, that's, I think, emotional part. Now we have this human intelligence. So in order to strengthening these basic human value, human compassion, then we utilize human intelligence. Then you see there are variety of people, different time, different location, different sort of way of life. Then you see different sort of way of thinking. So we need different way of approach to strengthening basic human value. So I think like medicine, for one purpose to get healthy body, but for same goal, according the circumstances, we use different variety of medicine, something like that. Medicine for peace of mind. We need different religion, and all carry the same message of love, as I already mentioned. Good joke. So I think they emotionally all carry the same message of loving kindness, altruism. That irrespective of whether believer, non-believer, believe this religion or that religion, all carry same message. We need, all need this loving kindness. Now, according to your sort of also the mental disposition, so different reasons utilized as a different way of approach. So there are differences. Now, for example, like within Buddhism, the Pali tradition and the Sanskrit tradition, within Sanskrit tradition, you see there are different philosophical views, you see different way of approach. So such case, study all these different traditions is very important. You just close your ear, eye, and just believe one thing. Then your mind become more narrow. So they study different tradition, different philosophy. Now, for example, Muslim, Buddhist, you see, it is much useful. Meet and discuss. And what is the differences? What is similarity? When differences come, what is the purpose? They're the same. Okay. The example, as I mentioned earlier, I have many good friends, Muslim friend, and Christian friend, and Jews, like that. So all different philosophy, different religion, but same. Okay.
I can only affirm what Your Holiness has said. The best way is through dialogue, and apart from dialogue, to have joint social action. Through dialogue and joint social action, that is the best approach. Thank you. The next one.
We now come to our final question. To summarize the forum discussed today, the topic compassion and mercy as the common values between Islam and Buddhism, could we seek Your Holiness and Professor Osman's advice on our last question on how we can put compassion and mercy into action? Thank you.
Like I think as soon as we're born, our mother take care. Although there is some part attachment there, but mainly loving kindness. So that biologically, you see, develop, taking full care of their children, their child. So that's also the reason we human beings, 7 billion human beings on this planet, you see, we should take care of each other on the basis of concept of oneness of 7 billion human beings. We all want happy life and a successful life as a society, because of the social animal. You see, it is naturally, it is sort of important to helping each other, take care of each other. So I usually, my number one commitment is promotion of oneness of 7 billion human beings. Then different religion, different race, different political system, these are secondary. The first, we all human beings. For example, when we passing through a remote area, when we face some problem, if we saw one human being there, the first sort of feeling, oh, there is one human being, I may find some help from that. See, at that moment, we never sort of, before you approach, we think, what nationality, what religion, what color. No, not come. First reaction is, oh, human being. So now, here, 7 billion human beings, we should develop the sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings and taking care of entire 7 billion human beings. That from religious reason, but from according to reality, through education, we should pay more attention, oneness of 7 billion human beings. Okay.
Okay, let me conclude also by giving my answer to the question.
Okay. I think,
yes,
I think half joke, you see, a different face, different sort of thinking. Even once same person at young age, different sort of physical appearance and different mental disposition. Even you say within one day, morning you have something different idea, evening something different. So no reason, you see, to fight or to morning you have some idea, evening another idea, and then you can say, oh, morning this idea so wrong, I have to destroy that person. Impossible. Same person, same view, same feeling. So similarly, humanity, 7 billion humanity, is a different mental disposition. It's in different circumstances. So easily understand we are basically same human being. As I mentioned earlier, I find some difficulties I can approach. So now today's world, entire world, very close each other. So that now we should take that as an advantage, or rather than, you see, the source of conflict. No. In ancient time, each nation, each group remained isolated. Now today, the global economy, and now today, the Nayam Khasa.
Pandemic. Pandemic.
Some illness, you see, that also, you see, brings human being more together. So therefore, now today's world, really, you see, sense of oneness and helping each other is very, very essential. That is a realistic approach. My own experience, as I briefly mentioned, if I still feel here in India, I'm just Tibetan. And then you get the feeling of lonely. I'm a human being, and Indian, over 1 billion human, Indian, our brothers, sisters, traditionally. And for us, for me, all those great masters, philosophers, all are Indian. Buddha himself, Indian. All those great masters like Nagarjuna, Aryadeva, all these Indian. So, and these great master of Nalanda, because there are already different philosophical sort of school of thought there. So they learn each other. So enrich, not remain isolated. So it's more variety of religion, more variety of philosophy is useful to develop our wisdom more wiser. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just let me give my response. I have 3 suggestions. Suggestion number 1, let us educate ourselves, transform ourselves to become more compassionate and merciful, because without the reservoir of compassion and mercy in our being, we will not be able to put into action. Suggestion number 2, let us empower the agenda to help the orphans, the poor, the needy, the weak, and the oppressed. Number 3, let us think more about the common good. Let us concentrate on the idea of the common good. That is very, very important. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Professor and Your Holiness, for the enlightenment through the presentation and interaction. We will take that advice close to our heart. On behalf of Muslim Youth Movement Malaysia, ABIM, I would like to extend our utmost gratitude to Your Holiness and Professor Osman Bakar, and also our VIP guests, Tan Sri Syed Hamid Alba, Professor Imtiaz Yusof, Mr. Ahmad Azam Abdul Rahman, and all participants who participated in this fruitful forum. Now, to close the dialogue, I would like to invite our brother Casey, to give the closing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Holiness, and Professor Datuk Osman Bakar for your sharing in this forum. We have benefited from a dialogue, and that is compassion and mercy as the common value between the Islam and Buddhists. Here I have a short summary for today, advice from Your Holiness and Professor Osman Bakar dialogue today. There is compassion and mercy are the inherent quality of human that need to be cultivated. World need compassion for happy world. Encourage educations of compassion to promote more practice on the compassion. We should focus on similarity rather than differences. Peace of mind is the best way to eliminate anger and start to develop love and compassion. Thank you, Your Holiness and Professor Osman Bakar. Lastly, we would like to thank the Holiness, Your Holiness Office, Muslim Youth Movement of Malaysia, Mr. Pak Chi Heng, President of Vajrayana Buddhist Council Malaysia, and Tibetan Buddhist Center Singapore for working together tirelessly for this forum. We would also like to dedicate this merit to the long life, Your Holiness.
Thank you.
Good health of Professor Datuk Osman Bakar, and safety for everyone who joined us today. Lastly, we hope Your Holiness can visit us in Malaysia and Singapore soon, very soon. We look forward to organize small forum and to seek common ground between Islam and Buddhists as part of Your Holiness' commitment also to promote peace and harmony. Thank you, Your Holiness.
Yes.
Dashidale.
I'm thinking, looking forward, visit Singapore and Malaysia. So I'm ready. As soon as now this illness here, the seriousness eventually is reduced, then I think after a few months, next year, I can visit Singapore and Malaysia. So visit Malaysia with the memory of Kasa, Tunku Abdul Rahman. Tunku Abdul Rahman. You see, very, very sort of helpful when we raise Tibetan issue at UN. Tunku Abdul Rahman, very, very helpful. So I, with memory about these past sort of story, I very much want to visit Singapore and Malaysia. Okay, see you again. I think next year, definitely I come. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Holiness.
Thank you, Your Holiness. Tu Cheche.
Your Holiness.
Thank you, Your Holiness.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Professor.
Datuk Osman, thank you. And thank you, Encik Faiza, and all the ABIM's group for
Thank
your
you,
support.
KC and TBCC.
Thank you.
Thank you, Datuk Azwan as well. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sadhu.
In case of my visit Malaysia, perhaps some local, not only local Muslim, but some Muslim countries, some Shia and some Sunni, some small semi-international conference about Muslim world. Then I feel small contribution regarding promotion of harmony, Sunni and Shia. That I really keen is to promote. India is example. Then more Muslim countries representative come, some religious leader come, and we can talk.